Yes, good evening, good afternoon, good morning, wherever you may be. This is the Consciencism Study Group, where we study every Thursday the philosophy and the ideology of decolonization with particular reference to the African Revolution. So we meet again to continue our reading and the sharing of thinking and discussion. So welcome everyone. Welcome Sister Nancy, Brother Sean, Sister Tapua, Brother Mauli, Brother Philip, Sister Tapua, Brother Ifo, Brother Pigeon, and Brother Welcome. So welcome everyone. So our rules haven't changed. We read and we share our thinking. It's a safe space. We share our thinking. We're all free to share our thinking. It's a safe space, so feel free to agree or challenge the reading. All we ask for is respect and perhaps patience with those who may not be at your point of view yet. Thank you very much. So our brother Pigeon has agreed to read for us. So Brother Pigeon, please proceed. Thanks.
Thank you, everyone, and greetings to you all, comrades. Hope I'm audible.
Yes, you are.
Now, this is a continuation of our reading. Matter is not inert in the sense of the philosophers. It is capable of self-motion, both in the sense of change of relation and in the sense of change of property. But matter has inertia. Inertia and inertness have been sufficiently distinguished. And while inertness implies inertia, inertia does not imply inertness. The initial assertions of what I put forward as philosophical conscientism are therefore twofold. First, there is the assertion of the absolute and independent existence of matter. Second, there is the assertion of the capacity of matter for spontaneous self-motion. To the extent of these two initial assertions, philosophical conscientism is deeply materialist. Thank you, Brother Kwame.
Brother Pigeon, can you read it again for us? Is that okay?
Okay, let me do it again.
Yes, please. Thanks.
Now, matter is not inert in the sense of the philosophers. it is capable of self-motion, both in the sense of change of relation and in the sense of change of property. But matter has inertia. Inertia and inertness have been sufficiently distinguished. And while inertness implies inertia, inertia does not imply inertness. Now, the initial assertion of what I put forward as philosophical consciencism are therefore twofold. First, there is the assertion of the absolute and independent existence of matter. And second, there is the assertion of the capacity of matter for spontaneous self-motion. To the extent of these two initial assertions, philosophical consciencism is deeply materialist. Kwame?
Yeah, thank you very much for sharing your thinking, your reading, for reading for us, sorry. Let's now, are there any words that are new in these two paragraphs that we need to go through? I don't think so, unless we want to remind ourselves of any words. I can't see any word that we haven't come across before. If there are, please let us know so that we can look at them again. Thanks. Are there any words, brothers and sisters?
Just inert and inertia again.
Yes, I was going to. I was going to.
Thank you.
Because now,
I was going to say.
Repetition now is very confusing.
Okay, so inert. Yes, sister Ida?
I was going to say that not inertness, but inertia in this context.
Okay.
I agree with Brother Welcome. We need to sort of examine those
so
two words.
Inertia. Any other words in the paragraphs?
So it's now inert, inertia,
inertness,
inertness.
Inertia. Any other word apart from inert and inertia? So are those the only two words? Okay. Any physicists in our midst who can explain them?
Oh, physicist.
Any physicists? Any chemistry students?
Can you hear me?
Sorry, who is speaking? Brother Ifo? Yes, Brother Ifo, we can hear you. Yes, we can hear you.
I used to be an engineering student.
Good.
And I got 90s in my chemistry, and I was usually 98 or 100 in my physics.
Okay, wonderful.
Okay, yeah. So I think I might be able to explain the two.
Yes, please.
I believe the definition of inertia is that an object in motion tends to stay in motion, and an object that is not moving will tend to stay not moving. It also means that there's a lot of energy that you would need to. So, for example, if you have a car that is moving, if you want to stop it from moving, you're going to need to use a lot of energy to stop it. Same thing as if the car is not moving, you're going to need a lot of energy to make it move. So that energy that you need to stop it or to move it is the energy of inertia. And for the definition of inert, my recollection is inert is something that does not react. So you could say with a chemical, and you say something is inert, you can mix it with another chemical and there will be no change. Whereas if you had something that was very volatile, like an acid, you mix it with something else and there will be a reaction. I hope that was a sufficient definition from the stuff I learned almost 30 years ago.
Yes, but let others come in case they want further clarification. So, brothers and sisters, you've heard our brother explain inertia and inertia. Are you happy with the definitions? Can we carry on, or do you want further clarification? So, briefly, inertia is a physics concept. The first law, Newton's first law of motion, as Brother Ifo was explaining. If a car is at a standstill and you want to move it, as Brother said, you will need energy to move it. So the resistance of that object to change in its motion, that is inertia. Yeah, that's in it. So it's resistance to change in its motion. So if you want to change it, you need energy to change it. So that resistance is inertia. Inertness, as Brother has explained, is a chemical property. So that's chemistry. So inertia is physics, inertness is chemistry. And as Brother explained, that is the quality of being unreactive. Yeah, lacks the ability to chemically interact, like helium. Helium is the best example that I know in terms of the chemical table. Yeah. So you can apply these two concepts to Africa and ask yourself, does Africa suffer from inertia? And does it suffer from inertness? So when we are sharing our thinking, you might want to visit that as well. Okay. But therefore, it looks like we are all happy with your explanation, so we can proceed. Yeah? Okay, so I would like to thank or welcome those who have joined us since. They are Sister Amma, Dr. Phiri, Brother Sean. If the Brother Sean I know, he's joining us all the way from Thailand. Wow. And the time is about 2 a.m. if I'm right, 2 or 3 a.m. in Thailand. So welcome, brother, for joining us. Then Sister Ida, welcome, Brother Horace. I think I've welcomed all the others. Okay, so let's share our thinking. As usual, we shall go from person to person. If we don't exhaust everyone, we are happy to extend it by another week, as we did over the last 2 weeks. We are not in a hurry. It's about understanding and sharing. We're not in a hurry anyway, yeah? Oh, I think I did welcome Brother Philip as well earlier. Yes, so since a brother read for us, can a sister start with the sharing of thinking? And Sister Tapua, are you happy to start for us? If not, I'm sure Sister Portia will be happy to do that.
I would defer to Sister Portia. I like the way she leads us into the text sentence by sentence. Thank you.
I see. Sister Portia, you've been elected by Sister Tapua. So please, if you are able to proceed for us, thanks.
Thank you very much. Many greetings, all. There are 2 paragraphs. I'll start with my initial thinking, and then I'll share my additional thinking. So the first paragraph, sentence 1, says, matter moves. The second sentence says, matter knows to move with nature and that which is perceived not to be nature. The third sentence says, matter has a purpose. The fourth sentence, gravity, for example, can be perceived different from space. So a lack of activity is not implied that nothing is happening. The second paragraph, Revolutionary Nkrumah's contention is 2 points. The second sentence is about self-determination or self-determining, and how that breaks down is the second sentence could be, for example, self-determining of a country, the ability to have the prerogative to form a government. And then that same second sentence is that there could be the self-determination or self-determining of a person, the freedom to control their life. The third sentence is basically that conscientism is the said matter. And I know there are different pronunciations on it. I go to Consciencism Study Group. That's the one I use. But I know there are many pronunciations. So that conscientism is the said matter. Now to my additional thinking. I keep saying there are unknowns. I comprehend, obviously, Revolutionary Kwame Nkrumah has read well. He has researched well. He is a revolutionary. He is a healthy, loving, wise, and knowledgeable ancestor. He and all others who are well-read, who are well-versed, and even those of us who are not, like myself, we don't know the unknown unless you are, in traditional African principles, that person who has studied the sciences that, of course, came from traditional Akibalon, to know when it's going to rain, to know how the grass is green but not so green. They are those traditional healers. They are the scientists, I prefer to say. They are the physicists. So they have a good way, though not all the way, of looking at the unknowns and anticipating, for example, that Shaka Zulu would be a king. Those unknowns is what interests me when I see this. I see what Revolutionary Kwame Nkrumah is saying after his extensive research, after his extensive writing, after his intellect and putting that on paper just to write. He wrote so many books. How I see this is he hasn't went into the unknowns, which is okay, because no matter how read well we are or how well read we are not, aside from those physicists or the traditional healers I spoke to, we may not have the knowledge or the wisdom to know and decipher the unknowns. And the other thing I would say to wrap up is the closest that I can think that we get to those unknowns is what I call discernment. Discernment is not my gut feeling. No. Discernment is actually an unknown, and it's hard for me to describe it. I'll give an example. When I was going to a place, I won't mention the country, and I was needing to leave that country, I heard a little of Kiswahili. And I heard the person, because I'm a human rights activist, and they were saying, yes, we'll get her at that airport. When she gets there, that's when we'll detain her. And so now what to do? It looks like that matter is I'm going to be detained. And so I called upon the healthy and loving, wise and knowledgeable ancestors because I don't know the unknowns. And I said, show me what to do. And they told me as I was getting off, the first thing was go and check on your luggage. I checked on my luggage. My luggage was going to be sent to another airport. And so by them telling me to check on my luggage, I was able to stop that from happening through them, not me. Then they told me as I was going in, because now I was nervous, they told me, go talk to that person. I went and talked to that person and said, hey, is my passport okay? He said, yes, your passport is fine. You'll be able to leave the country, no problem. And then he consulted. It was a he identified as a he. Fast forward, now it's time for me to leave that country, which I won't name. And sure enough, when I get to the place to go, they start saying, but this is not valid. This is not legitimate. You can't, what is this? How is this going to do? And again, I felt that the healthy, loving, and wise and knowledgeable ancestors said, remain calm, show respect, and keep quiet. And then a man came up and said, I know you. You were that lady from earlier who greeted my friend. Your passport is good. Don't worry, you will exit. The unknowns. I yield.
Thank you, Sister Portia. Let's now hear from a brother. So for those who may not be aware, we interchange between the male and the female voice. Right. So let's hear from Dr. Phiri, please. Thank you.
Can I give others a chance?
Yeah, you can't pass, brother. I'll come back to you when you're ready later. That's fine.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Yes.
Let's hear from.
Can I go ahead?
From. Sorry, who talked?
Brother Kwame, I'm volunteering to go ahead if there's nobody.
Yes, you can. You can proceed.
Now, one, I must admit that there was it was like a tongue twister. Inertia, inertness, inertia, inertness. And this element that says, well, inertness implies inertia, inertia does not imply inertness, you see. So there was a bit of difficulty there, but allow me to try to follow a bit Sister Portia's methodology and maybe share my thinking, because the paragraph is a bit less in terms of the sentence by sentence. So one is that when Nkrumah say matter is not inertia in the sense of the philosophers, in the sense of philosophers, then it is inert in the sense of who. Who are these people who view matter as being inert? And then this now actually challenges a lot, because now we have read about philosophers here. Nkrumah has introduced Thales, Barclays, Plato, Aristotle, Socrates, and there were others, Anaximander, and all those philosophers back then, but not maybe in reference to this. But it's actually challenged those philosophers' thinking or mechanical view that matter is passive, that either that, and this is the argument we've been having, that if something is dead, it's not if something is inert, is dead substance, or is something that is still there, still like no moving, it requires an external force. That thinking is what we've been trying to challenge here. Or if not external force, you can view external force in any way. Either it can be a divine intervention, maybe pray for that thing so that it can move, or maybe go offer some sacrifice for that thing to move, or maybe push it physically for it to move. So this sentence that says that matter is not inert in the sense of philosophy, it actually argues that matter possesses intrinsic vitality or that internal movement. Because the argument has been whether matter is inert or it's capable of self-motion. Then if you look at it, maybe let's put it in my context of maybe the African society or the continent. This, I think, and sometimes now it makes me to think deeply. Was it really that we, Africa as a continent, were inert, were primitive and civilized, backward, and the rest of the things? So that the white man, and I think that's what they wrote in their own colonization stories, that they came in to civilize us, to help us. And I remember this week was it a member of parliament from UK who argued that British and the former colonies should not pay reparations. And in fact, we should pay them for developing us, putting infrastructures and everything else that was missing. They spend their money to put infrastructures during so-called colonialism or whatever, so that we should actually appreciate and pay them. That mentality that we were stagnant as a continent or as a people, and that we only then became a civilized society or a developed society because we got interaction with the European. And I think this also challenges one of the greatest debates we've been having in the CSG debate club with these people of capitalists and those other thinking, that it is the only thing that can move the continent forward, and that so-called socialism or whatever you call it, communism, is not capable of any development. That the private sectors and the so-called market or whatever are the people who can only put money to ensure a country develop. That thinking that then people are not capable of development, and especially African in this context are not capable of development until either divine or external forces came into contact with Africa. And I think that's why Nkrumah challenges, I think in the previous reading, that the history of Africa cannot start with the African interaction with the West or Europe. Because as always, we'll be told about Lake Victoria, the discovery of River Thompson, or like whatever, Thompson and those other rivers. It only starts when a white man puts a paper down and says there was Mount Kenya and there were these people. Our history cannot start there. Our history has to be our history, and those European contact, I think as Nkrumah says, can only be part of our history, but not the source of our history. So Nkrumah is actually trying to challenge that thinking that Africa is inert as a society, and is that we were not inert, we are dynamic, we were possessing our own internal logic and capacity for development, long even before those colonization or even what you call enslavement. And it's true, because now the history we're being taught, and they were teaching us their history, his history. Our history proves to most of us who have gone deep into our civilization. And if you read the book, The Destruction of Our Civilization, you realize that we have a lot of civilization. I think even the book of Joseph, about the Nile civilization, and even the book of Sheikh Hunted Job that talks about how great we were. The civilization, the Zimbabwe region, the Khmer, the Nubian. So this tendency that we were not moving or not civilized is false. And that's what Nkrumah is challenging. That it doesn't mean that either as a society, as a people, who are not capable of moving. Now, when I look at this second sentence, it says that it is capable, when say matter is not inert to this verse, it says then it is capable of self-motion, both in the sense of change of relation and the sense of change of property. I think this thing is very important now. It becomes hard a bit to understand the difference of change in a relation and what is a change in property. And I'll be maybe trying to share my thinking a bit, because if we are capable of self-motion, and that's the position Nkrumah is putting forth, and the position personally I also believe, it implies that change is internal, is inherent to the structure of our reality. It's not foreign. And a change in relation might mean things that change how they interact. Change in property then might mean change in the composition or the nature of the object. Either the object can change from solid, liquid, gaseous. And then we've been having that discussion, I think, as well, when we talk about the categorical conversion that we came across back then, the dialectics, that thing can change, and this is the position that matter is the primary reality, but not a sole reality, which means there can be any other realities that then can be arrived at when you talk of spirit, the soul, the thinking and mind. The brain can change into minding, or can do the word of minding, then there's a thought process coming out of that. That must be seen as a change of property. It doesn't mean that it is something new. As I've said, a product or an item can change from solid, liquid to gaseous. That gaseous element is not different from that which was solid. It's the same thing, but different in property, change in property. Now, if you look at it, it also might mean in our context that a colonized country, for example, like Africa, how it was colonized back then, is not actually fixed in a state of servitude. And by us either changing our relation, either cutting ties with the colonialism or colonial metropole, or even forming Pan-African Union or African Union and the rest, that was a change in relation. We said, no, we are no longer going to actually operate with you colonizers as we used to do. We need our so-called independence so that we don't interact, or our relations are not in the same context. But change of property can also be like now, when now we moved from after colonization from that state, because during the colonization they see us either as an extraction avenue. So let's go extract as much as we want from the continent. But now we are changing from there to be either an industrial continent, either we are starting now to define what we are composed of, development, the roads, the industries. We are changing a lot as a people. So we are changing the property of continent Africa. It's not the same in terms of the infrastructure or anything else as it was back then. So, and then we go even to look at, and Brother Kwame, maybe I might go further. I'll pause a bit to allow other members to come in, please, if that's okay. But let me finish by saying this. Nkrumah still argue and say that the inertia and inertness have been sufficiently distinguished. And while inertness implies inertia, inertia does not imply inertness. And I think this is where we needed what you call objective opinion from expert. But this distinction of inertness, which is the inability to act, and inertia, which is actually a tendency of object to resist that change instead of motion. So one is inability to act, another one is a tendency of refusing motion. That matter resists change, but it is not incapable of change. Well, they say inertness implies inertia, and inertia does not imply inertness, which means matter always or is capable of resisting change. But when matter resists change, doesn't mean it is not capable of change. For example, that period of colonization then was actually the persistence of colonial administration system. There, everything else they were doing to us, there's psychological, everything else. And their flags were actually lowered at the end of the day. That resistance is natural, but it does not mean that African nations were or are inert or are not capable of change. It only implied that the process of transformation sometimes required some of us went into a blood process, either the Mau Mau process. Other people weren't peaceful, but even that so-called peaceful was not peaceful. There are people who paid some process or some paid some debt for it. There are people who gave either their life for it. So it doesn't mean that we couldn't change. But it also meant that sometimes there was need for some sufficient force to make that change happen, you see. and the pressures during the liberation, the struggle for independence, and all those things could actually mean that change was pushed for. So, Brother Kwame, permit me to pause here. Maybe if I'll get time, I'll share my thinking the rest of the other paragraphs. The rest of the second paragraph, actually.
Thank you, Brother Pigeon, for sharing your thinking. Let's now go to Sister Tapua. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. I'm going to comment say my thoughts based on the second sentence in the first paragraph. It there refers to matter. Matter is capable of self-motion, both in the sense of change of relation and in the sense of change of property. I'm looking at the African context. And what I am getting from this is that we are capable of changing the relations that we have with others. In other words, that interaction there, we're capable of changing it. But we are also capable of self-transformation in the sense of change of property. So, whilst we are a people who've been subjugated, we are capable of changing that and reversing it. We are capable of changing our relations because the way we go about, sometimes we feel, some of us feel, what do we do if we are not capitalist? What do we do if we, we can't reject the system, but we are learning that we have the capacity to change, capacity that is inherently in us. And the fact that the capitalist system has been suppressing us for so long does not mean nothing is happening within us. Whilst they might not see anything, and they think, oh, there's Pan-Africanists, what are they going to be doing? There's a change that is going on from inside. I remember the example that we have in the Zimbabwean context of the shock that the white men had when people started fighting back, because they were preaching that we're the happiest Black people on earth. We're very content with our situation and we're happy with what they're doing for us. And I think this is where, and for us, this is pointing a direction that whilst the effort that we're putting might not be apparent, the results might not be apparent now, it doesn't mean nothing is going on. Things are going on. It's only that they're not outwardly visible yet. But it's also saying, even if we were to sit and not do anything, things would still be going on. Because what we are then doing is we're trying to conjure or trying to make the events happen in the direction that we want to happen. For example, Nkrumah knew that African countries were going to be independent. It was the direction of what was going to happen that he was seeking to influence. But there were changes that were going to take place. And this is why even Macron, in the way that he behaves, because he's noticed that his own French-speaking countries do not take him seriously anymore. But he knows change is happening. And he knows that whether it is visible or not, he needs to be acting in order to anticipate and to determine the direction of the change. Because change is there, change will permanently happen. It's part of the permanency of existence. Which is why, as we are working towards unified Africa, we need to be aware that we need to put in place structures that will help us to get the Africa that we want, the independence that we want, and to look at events like what's happening in South Africa today and say, instead of commenting, just saying they shouldn't be doing that, what are we doing to make sure that the result is the end result that we are hoping for, a unified Africa? Thank you. I'll stop there for now.
Thank you, Sister Tapoa, for sharing your thinking. Let's now go to Brother Koko, please. Thank you.
Apologies, I've just joined, so haven't really digested the text. Can I pass for now?
Yeah, you can pass, brother. Let's Brother Philip then step in.
Hi.
Brother Philip.
Hi. Good evening again.
Good evening, Brother Philip.
Okay, so I'm a baby speaking, so you just pardon my thoughts. I'm not
sorry, you're not a baby. I respectfully deny you are a baby. Thank you.
I am not certain that this I don't know whether the word is diatribe.
Brother Philip.
Yes.
Stop hedging your bets. Just share your thinking.
Yes. So I'm really not certain that this diatribe of Nkrumah's is really necessary. If the context was to show that the European philosophers' context was to show that matter is indeed inert and applying to Africans, then that statement of matter being inert should apply to all humanity, all animals and trees, and I mean to the Europeans themselves. And they would not accept that they are inert. They will say they are active, they are this and that. So the entire debate, if that is the context, seems to me to be quite relevant from that perspective. Yeah, so I think that's the point that I'd like to make here. The entire philosophical assertion has no merit. Frivolous and vexatious, as the lawyers say, without merit.
Okay. So your summary is that
Nkrumah's diatribe here is irrelevant because he's replying to a non-statement, a statement that doesn't have any value. He shouldn't have wasted his time discussing that issue if the context was to show that Africans were inert. He should have spent his time looking at other areas of forward motion. It's a self-defeating statement to say that matter is inert. It just makes sense.
Okay, thank you very much for sharing your thinking. Let's now go to.
I've got a question.
Well, for the book, for me, or for Brother Philip?
For Philip.
Brother Philip, looks like sister has a question for you.
You are saying he's saying that matter is inert. Are you? Is that what you're saying?
Nkrumah is saying matter is inert. That's what Nkrumah is saying. No. Not in.
Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry, I'm listening.
Yeah, the philosophers are saying that matter is inert, and Nkrumah is saying matter is not inert.
Okay. All right. So does that make you change your statement? Because I thought you'd said he was saying matter is inert, when the first sentence is saying matter is not inert in the sense of philosophers. In other words, he's saying it is not inert.
Yeah, it's the philosophers who were saying that, I presume. And so Nkrumah was opposing that statement.
I don't think so. I don't think that statement there is opposing. It's actually supporting. Matter is not inert in the sense of philosophers. In other words, he's saying, like Brother Pigbin was saying, it is not inert in other areas as well, which are not philosophers.
Right. Yeah, so I agree with that. But I'm saying that statement is something that is, to my mind, is something that is well known. Matter is not inert.
Yeah, but the thing is, are we expecting him to be writing about things that are not well known, that are outside the sphere of human understanding? Sorry, I pose my contribution here because I think it's going one. I mean, it's becoming a discussion between two people. But that's all I wanted to raise.
But that is part of the class, so it's fine.
Okay.
It's not a problem. If you want to delve a bit deeper, that's okay. That's okay. But if you also want to stop there, again, that's okay.
Yeah, I'll stop here for now. Thank you very much.
I have no problem with us interrogating one another to get clarity on our thinking. So matter is not inert in the sense of the philosophers. So the philosophers that we have seen so far have said that matter is inert. Yeah? They are saying that matter is inert means matter has no power of self-motion. That's basically what it's saying.
Right.
Yeah? But our analysis so far leads to the conclusion that matter has powers of self-motion, of which there are three. Yeah? Linear motion in a straight line, rotary motion, going round and round, and then change in property. Now, the first two, linear motion and rotary motion, are called change in relation simply because one thing relates to the other. So if the Earth is in a particular location, sorry, the sun is in a particular location and the Earth is moving around it, yeah, that's a change in relation, because then the Earth is changing its relation with the sun, which is what causes our change in the seasons and in day and night, and the sun, and day and night, and summer, winter, autumn, and so on. So that change in relation is in one thing in relation to the other. So that's why the first two are called change in relation. And then the second one, which is change in property, stays by itself. So in other words, even though there are three types of motion, two of them are similar because they are about change in one thing related to the other. And then the second one is actually also a property of matter on its own. So that's basically what it's saying. So the philosophers said that. And I think if we remember, the philosophers who said that included who? Included the big names, yeah? Newton, yeah? Isaac Newton and others, yeah? So they were the big names. And the problem for us is this. Since we are part of the material world, if we are inert, then it means that we have no powers of self-motion, which means you can never liberate yourself, you can never unite, you can never develop Africa, because you are inert. Now we have introduced the question of inertia, which Brother Ifo has explained, which is that the thing has resistance to motion. If you try and push it, it won't move until you apply enough energy. Yeah. So try pushing a vehicle by yourself and see whether you can by yourself. But maybe if you gather 3 or more people and you have enough energy, you can move the vehicle by a few centimeters. But I don't know. Even if there are 100 of you, can you make the vehicle move at 80 miles per hour? Because there are 80 of you. I don't know. But so then you need technology then, yeah? You need technology for that kind of motion. So anyway, yeah, so I think Brother Philip is agreeing with Nkrumah, from my understanding. It's agreeing with the philosophers. But I feel that's my understanding of what you're saying. Yeah.
Yes, I'm agreeing with Nkrumah. If the philosophers say that matter is inert, therefore we apply it to Africans as Africans are inert, why do we stop at Africans? If matter is inert, then the Europeans are also inert. And so that statement of matter being inert, the application to Africans is...
But Philip,
yeah,
you see, but you are inert because you're an African, you see. And they are not Africans, in fact. So you are inert because you see you're not even human beings. You guys are not even human beings. You don't even. So you guys are inert. We have to do things for you. You see, you guys. You just don't have. So that is a philosophical argument. Yes, Philip. Please respond. Thank you.
Much matter as Europeans are, and therefore, if they want to say that Africans are inert by saying matter is inert, matter is not limited to Africans. Once you use the word matter, it includes Europeans. Therefore, the whole statement is a non-statement, self-contradictory.
Yeah, but you must be inert because you've not been able to develop Africa. Since 1957, you guys have just been round and round. You've been going rotary motion. You guys have not been able to transform Africa. So you guys cannot have powers of self-motion.
Rotary motion is motion.
Anyway, thank you, Brother Philip. This is me playing the devil's advocate. Thank you, Brother Philip, for sharing your thinking. Let's now go to Sister Ida, please. Thanks.
I have to say that I liked in fact, I've liked what everybody said, but well, maybe I don't understand what Brother Philip has fully said, but Sister Tapao got me thinking that the fact that inertia might be happening at one moment in time doesn't mean that it continues to happen, or there is the opportunity of people to change at any time and start being less inert and have a change in motion, or have a change in their way of thinking, their properties of thinking, how they think. So the bit that I first wanted to, the bit that I first wanted to talk about was the last bit, but then I saw that the first bit is also very important by listening to what others have said. To me, when it was being read, the bit about there is an assertion of the capacity of matter for spontaneous self-motion reminded me of earth sciences and the fact that volcanoes can be inactive for very long periods of time, but then can suddenly start to see change and to actually explode and stuff like that. Explode is not the right word. Erupt and stuff like that. So that makes me realize that if I apply that to people, that they too can be very, or seem to be very inactive for a long period of time. And then something triggers change. All part of the same things to do with the three elements of motion, and how whether it's vapor, whether it's a solid, whether it's liquid, that change can happen, and once it happens fast. But it might take people, individuals, a long time to realize that change is needed in their lives. And but once they find out where they're going, the change can happen fast. I think that's what I would say. Because even looking at what's happened either in the Sahel states or even South Africa, you know, a change happens fast when it's ready to happen. Or even when you look at the Gen Zs in Kenya, change can be sudden, and it can be, you can't turn back the clock on it because it happens and it changes other people's lives. So I think that's the best I can come up with. Yes, I think I'll leave it there. Thank you very much.
So you've dwelt on categorical conversion, Sister Ida. Thank you very much for that. So I'm going to say something and then respond in your own way. So the problem from what I hear and what you're saying is that I don't think that's what you meant. That which is inert can never interact with any other thing. And the reason it can't interact, it's because it is inert. By an inertness is the property of that thing. So helium, which is a good example, the chemical agent helium, and inertness, remember, inertness is a chemical. It's about chemistry. So the thing with helium is it can be inert for 1,000 years, and it will still not interact because that's its property. So if the thing is inert and it can't interact, then it cannot have powers of self-motion.
At the time. Yes,
no, not at the time. At any time. That's why it's inert, you see.
Yeah, but it's inert for a time. I mean, I think
that's my point to you, which I want you to consider. So helium is inert forever, unless we live in a different universe. Does that make sense?
No.
What is?
Sorry, hold on. Let start. Ida respond. Go on.
Under certain conditions that we know of, helium is inert, but it doesn't necessarily mean it is always inert when the right conditions to change it are there. It's just
I hear you. But the problem is that helium is helium. It does not interact.
What is helium? What is helium?
Helium is the second substance on the periodic table.
Yes.
I know. I didn't go beyond that.
The first substance is hydrogen. The second is helium.
Yeah, what is it?
It's a chemical substance, sister. And one of its properties, its properties is that it does not interact with anything.
Under normal circumstances.
Under any circumstances, as far as we know.
What does it do? It just exists.
Just told you.
May I come in?
You need to understand where the student is getting it wrong.
No, I'm just saying that is its chemical property.
May I come in for a clarification?
Thank you.
Come in, Sister Portia.
Sister Ida, I contend is correct. This is what I was saying in the beginning about the unknowns. We only can see what we can see. And also you are correct, Brother Kwame. We only can see what we can see. But that doesn't mean other things are not happening. We said that some months ago when I said I was outside, I am standing, but underneath there is things moving. So I concur with Sister Ida, and I concur with you that you can be right and she can be right. She said from what we see, helium is not moving. There are unknowns.
But then there was a flat Earth once, and that has changed. So I think that under what we know at the moment, we think of helium as inert, but it doesn't necessarily mean under certain conditions it's always inert, is what I'm trying to say.
Okay.
Thank you.
So thank you for your response. Sister Portia has stepped in with clarification. So, under extreme pressure, and we're talking about extreme pressure, helium can be forced into compounds.
Thank you.
Such as sodium helium.
Thank you.
But in everyday conditions, absolutely inert. Now, the conditions under which helium will interact are not the conditions in which we can live as humans. In that kind of pressure, we will disappear as humans. So under in everyday conditions, helium is absolutely inert, but there are conditions that it can interact.
And the ancestors can interact with helium because they are different matter.
Sodium,
for example.
Sodium can interact with helium, right.
Yeah.
So
thank you.
So under what condition will Africa move? Do we need such pressure before we can move? I'm not asking to answer it. I'm just throwing that out.
Brother Kwame.
Just Ida, do you want to continue? So, yes, Brother Pigeon.
Brother Ifo's hand has been up. I think he could give an expert opinion as well.
I was going to go to him after Sister Ida, but let Sister Ida come back because she's had a hand up. Sister Ida.
Okay, I was going to say under certain it can't happen under our conditions.
Under everyday conditions, yes.
Yeah, under our immediate conditions. But I think that there are other worlds where maybe you might call it categorical conversion, where there must be life. In fact, there is. Under the sea, there's life that can survive with no oxygen and nitrogen.
Yeah, that's right.
And the helium conditions in I think they're big worms and stuff like that. So I think life can still happen with helium. Maybe not the life we know as, but there is life that is not is going on with helium. So even though you say it's inert and it sounds
I'm not the one, Sister Ida, I'm not the one saying it's inert. It's the profession.
Yeah, the periodic table says that, but just because we don't know.
Liars, scientists, liars.
Sister Ida, thank you very much. Let's go to Brother Ifo. Thanks.
Right. Someone stole my thunder by explaining the extreme pressure thing. So back home we have a saying, "Na condition cause crayfish to bend," which means that if there was not pressure, your shrimp would not be crooked. So we have to pay attention. Sometimes there's pressures in life. That was what I put my hand up to say initially, but I'll answer the question about the pressure. Does Africa need pressure to change?
No. If don't respond to that. Just share your thinking on the paragraph, and then if you want to, you can visit that later. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. What's important is your thinking on the paragraph. Thanks.
All right. I think the absolute and independent existence of matter is what I would call a Euroscientific presumption. And I say Euroscientific because it is the science based on the cultural misunderstanding of the world from these people that decide to call themselves European. And as we spend more time learning more in science, we start to realize that some of the things that our grandfathers and grandmothers and great-grandmothers were saying, that the so-called scientific world laughed at, they are now realizing that these things are true. There's a deep interconnectedness, there's a deep spiritual interconnectedness of a whole lot of things. They now talk about quantum physics, they talk about quantum computing. All those things are things that our ancestors talked about before we were invaded, but they laughed at them as being childish. And now you have to get an advanced PhD to basically understand the basic stuff that people in the village knew before we were invaded. So I think that's my bearing on that, and I'll yield on that. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Brother Ifo. Let's now go to a sister. May I remind us all in that process that the good thing about Consciencism is that it is an African philosophy. Yeah, it's not a European philosophy. It's an African philosophy. Yeah, so let's bear that in mind. And Nkrumah himself, as you may or may not know, was a traditional chief, and of all those who went to the West to study, he listened to Nnamdi Azikiwe of Nigeria and went to the US to study. Yeah, and that's why he had a different view on life from his compatriots at the time, because he had an alternative view. And Consciencism is rooted in the African perspective. So whatever our grandmothers, our grandfathers, whatever they thought, that is known in our traditional point of view, is what Nkrumah is encouraging us to, if you like, to retrieve. Yeah. And at the same time, Consciencism is scientific, which means that it changes. Our philosophy will be transformed as we remember more and more of what our ancestors knew. You see, so Consciencism is not a static philosophy. Yeah, it's not static, and that is why our ideologies are also not static. Yeah, by ideology here, I'm referring to the instruments of philosophy. They will change as the context changes. You see, that's why I think we as Africans, with our own traditional philosophy, are in the best position to think through what it is that we need. In fact, I shared a video where a Kenyan lady was raising from deep philosophical questions. Right? Only Brother Coco, if I remember correctly, went at length to interact with that video and to share his thinking. Everybody else was silent or said almost nothing. You see, but that kind of engagement amongst us is what is why we also have our WhatsApp group. It's not just for anyone; it's for those of us who attend class to share, to support one another. You know, share our thinking. We don't argue. We don't fight. You know, we support. You know, we listen. We contribute. etc. And those who want to argue can join the debating forum and argue there. But the WhatsApp group is a protected space for us, so we can support one another. Right. So that is what is good about the African philosophy. And the thing is, it doesn't matter whether you are from West Africa, you are from South Africa, you are from East Africa. It doesn't matter, because fundamentally, the African perspective is the same. It is the same. It doesn't matter what part of Africa you are from. Our traditions may differ. We might have different traditions and sensitivities, but underpinning it all, the African perspective is fundamentally the same, which means that we see humans are also coming from the same matter, that there's no superior and inferior. We all belong to the same matter. And I am because we are. I don't exist independently by myself. I exist because there was a nation that existed, etc., etc., etc. Right. So let's now hear from I think brother Ifo shared. So let's hear sister, and then I'll come to brother. Dr. Phiri, did you want to just share, or do you want to share your thinking? Because I can come back to you later.
Yeah, I just wanted to share my thinking, but I think you can go to the sister and I'll come back.
Okay, let me go to Sister Amma and then I'll come back to you. Sister Amma, are you able to speak this time? Let me check the chat. Good evening. Oh, I cannot speak. Oh, okay. Sister Amma can't speak. So brother Dr. Phiri, yes, please proceed. Thanks.
Kwame.
Oh, yes, you wanted to say something.
We had Sister Nancy in the group, and Sister Nancy.
Yes, Sister Nancy. You've been very quiet, sister.
Hello. Well, I'm quiet because I was waiting my turn.
I know. It's always a pleasure to have you with us.
Well, it's always a pleasure.
You didn't have to park your car again just to contribute.
No. I learned so much just being quiet and listening. And I'll be the first to acknowledge I never really thought about a distinction that Nkrumah raises between inertia and inertness, I believe. I never considered that until I read this. And I learned again a lot from just listening. But what I'd like to contribute is just the importance of recognizing that Nkrumah, I think, is just reminding us that change is a science, like viewing change is a science, and it's a logical conclusion of materialism. It's governed by laws, just like I think we've talked about matter. But I think the thing that we have to, remember is that approaching decolonization does require that we analyze contradictions that exist in society. And it's a little bit different from matter, of course, even though you talked about the pressure and things. But society, we have capital and labor, we have maybe urban elites versus rural peasantry. We may have people who have had. I'm sorry.
Keep changing.
So I didn't hear you.
Sorry, no. Sorry about Sister Nancy. Stapa was murmuring to herself. Sorry.
I see. Okay. People have had different exposures, different opportunities. These things are may have an impact on the way that we perceive or the way that we interact with one another and with nature. And this is even things that are material conditions when we're maybe they like the climate. I shouldn't say weather. I should say climate, for instance. The fact that we might be in an area that has maybe mineral resources or not. These things also have an impact. So look at the laws of change and transformation, these things impact the way that that would progress. And you know, I think it's a little bit different than looking at something on the periodic table. So that was my contribution. You know, that again, there's a difference in the laws of motion, I guess, as it would apply to society, as it as compared to just an object or matter in general. They both follow the same principles, but there are some different things that have to be considered and have to be applied when we're talking about social change. I think that's pretty much my contribution. And I do want to say that I agree with most of what I've heard today. I think there's some really excellent points that were made that really help us understand the necessity for even having this conversation. And I do agree that it you know, there's not really a need for us to be convinced of this, but unfortunately there are people, even African people, who have accepted the lie that we need outsiders to help us move forward. And I think Nkrumah does a really masterful job of explaining why that is just not factual. And I think it's important that we understand this so that we can explain it and help people understand how transformation takes place. That it's not mystical, it's not random, it's not dependent on external forces. It operates through laws of dialectics, and you know, that's just the way, that's the science of change. And I'll stop there. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. And we just need to know the laws of change, which is why we are studying science. Dr. Phiri.
Yes, thank you.
Horace, I'll come to you later.
Yes, I according to me, I did what was called process philosophy. It used to define things as movement. It is something that we assume as if it's not moving. Then they'll use it at a subatomic level. Everything is moving. Okay, but I know that with Kwame Nkrumah was not just that, but he was actually trying to say that there's actually a movement beyond the subatomic where things actually move. And it is in the nature of things that they should move. I think also maybe movement in itself is a sign of life. So if there's no movement, it means there is death. So that means when a culture is defined as inert, that means it cannot move. So so then, according to his argument, he's arguing that matter in itself, it's in constant movement. So that's why then we can also debate on what type of movement is that nature, which is one, there are some type of movements for real transformation and progress, which is more like a linear movement where you move from point A to point B as you develop. Then there can be the one that you are in circles, in which you do not move. You are moving, but you are not, there's no progress within that. It's like you are repeating the same element that you are within. The reason why, when you asked me to talk and I couldn't say anything, not because I didn't have anything to say, but I've been disturbed recently in South Africa. This has been my home for 22 years. And I find that there's movement in South Africa, in the political South African movement. And I've always been a defender of the South African movements, saying that maybe it's because of their context and because of what they have. But I've been very disappointed recently. I think I've removed myself in two groups recently. These are people that I've been with almost for 10 years of my life and more, whom I thought that possibly there might be a certain progress in their thinking, in the way they see Africa and what is happening now. Surprisingly enough, most of the groups that I'm part of are actually academic people that I would expect that possibly they might be able to reason in a particular way. But there's this element of a quasi-fascist way of thinking, which is called South Africa First, which is so strange, even in my closest friends that I am part of. So I found that very disturbing now, and it's a reality that is hitting me hard, because I went home. So then when I came back, there's something that made me, for the first time, I used to see South Africa as my second home. I'm rethinking, because people who are speaking and expressing their thoughts, they are actually very defensive, such that they want to protect what they are saying by highlighting the circumstances of South Africans. I don't think, like, you want to protect what you are doing by explaining your circumstance is a justification of that. It's like a fascist explaining himself why he's a fascist, at the same time trying to protect that. It was quite terrifying, because most of the groups that I'm part of, one is called the National Institute for Humanity and Social Sciences. These are people who trained as doctoral students. Most of them are already doctors. The way they argue about the South African First, and even the interpretation that they have of Pan-Africanism, it's quite something. It's quite something. It's even most of the debates that you make, you try to make sense. So I was even thinking about this issue of movement, that maybe they are still assuming that, because I understand the issue, the legal issue of undocumented, but it's affecting even us who has been here. We've made this place our home. You can feel very uncomfortable. For the first time, I used to always to call South Africa as my second home, since my wife is South African. But now I feel like an outsider when I listen to the way they speak and how they express about what it means to be foreign to them. And this idea of indigeneity, of thinking of a South African as someone who was born in South Africa, whose roots are in South Africa, and all this stuff. Even the negotiated idea of citizenship, whereby you become a citizen maybe by staying in South Africa, contributing and stuff, then become a citizen. So it disturbed me, and it gave me this thing, so that I removed myself from first group for the intellectuals. Then there's a second group that I have also for professionals and intellectuals that I have. Some of the thinking, and one thing that is said is not everyone else in the group is talking about that as a reality. No. But there are some who are part of that group whom I expect at least they could say something contrary. So I can feel that there's a certain shadow that has fallen on South Africa, so that I don't know what had happened to the definition of Pan-Africanism. What are they really afraid of? Or it's because maybe their economy is still functioning. So whoever prescribes himself, like me, openly as a Pan-Africanist, is seen as someone else who wants to take advantage of another country. Like me, I'm from Zimbabwe, saying that Zimbabwe's economy is now broken. So I'm trying to be a Pan-African so that I can share the resources of South Africa, something like that. So there's been this vibe that have come through, and they've actually scared me. So when we were reading about inertia and movement in life, I was worried, because some of the people who are expressing this are too close to me, and I've known them almost all my life. With those people whom you can die together. So according to me, I just wanted to share this, because I know that it's not really within the philosophical thrust of what we are doing, but they've got this practical aspect of it. So that I started thinking that I know that I'm not in the position of being asked to leave and stuff, because I'm privileged, I'm middle class, I've got the privileges. But for the first time, I felt like if I was at home, people would never see me like that. You see, if people can see themselves like that, in such a desperate situation, because if you realize that one of the problems that we have is the problem between Africans among themselves, but this have also translated into, so even if you want to have this idea that even those undocumented poor Zimbabweans or Mozambicans who are coming, you're not committing crime or something, they just want to survive, they're just in the same predicament as the South Africans themselves. They don't accept that. Maybe these fewer people that I've heard, but the experience that I've had so far in the idea of Pan-Africanism, in how they actually interpret it. Actually, since I always present myself as a Pan-Africanist, and I'm normally known because I'm always visible in all my positions. I'm not like private. I'm just an open person. So it just gave me this pain that in as much as we are alive and we are looking forward for transformation, there can be also a certain optimism of a false, unfounded transformation that we may be looking at, in which maybe we want to capitalize on the life of, like, for example, they think that maybe foreigners go, like now they've been opening of jobs, but most of these jobs that are opened now are like bus drivers, these drivers and all the stuff. These are the things. And even if you want to explain about why there's high employment in South Africa, they just can't. They just think that maybe the migrant problem is the solution. So there's this hardcore thing that they've come until the 30th, which I don't understand. Yeah. So my worry is always that when was part of our reading on meta, on the movement of meta, on transformation, on realizing that us, with our own civilization, and we are capable of self-transformation. For this moment and this little period, I think for the last 2 months, I become very much sad.
Brother,
thank you.
Dr. Phiri.
Yes.
Which line of the reading made you to invoke this experience, if you don't mind me asking?
To say, see, I was thinking of transformation and movement. Meta is not inert; it's moving. But I'm thinking about as we move. I was just thinking about as we move and transform, because people whom I'm talking to, they're also thinking about also movement and transformation. But the one that is South African first, and so sort of mutual exclusive. That's what I was just trying to say. Just to support the whole movement of nature and transformation itself in general. But I'm worried about when we transform and we move, how do we discern which is the right path in which we transform and we move? It's actually very important also, I think. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
The application of our discussions to the political economy of Africa as a whole, or in terms of states, is something we reserve for our Saturdays. So if we want to pursue the point of view that Dr. Phiri has raised, I would suggest we do that more fully on a Saturday. But as we're all sharing our thinking, and as it's a safe space, everyone has the right to share whatever they think. Can I don't want us to go down the path of South Africa, please, everyone here. Let's not go down that path, please, yeah? We can have a Saturday for another discussion on that. But what I wanted to say is that, very quickly, is that if what some of the discussions being made in South Africa were only in their language, and others don't understand the language, then we won't know what was going on. I mean that in Ghana, something similar has happened, and they say Yeriji Yamang. Brother Philip, who I think will be in Ghana at the time, will know. So the idea is that those who live across the border. So as you know, our territories were carved out and nationalities were divided. Some nationalities are in four separate countries. With Ghana, we have, because the coast is a sea, there is no neighbors on the sea side, yeah? But in terms of east, west, and north, we have families across the border with Burkina Faso, yeah? We have families in Ivory Coast and in Ghana, and then we have families in Togo and in Ghana. When elections come, sometimes it flares up, and people say when some parties win elections, they say we are getting back our country from these foreigners. So Yeriji Man means exactly what South Africans are saying. We want our country back. Yeah, it's the same thing. So I'm suggesting that this is not unique to South Africa and it's happening elsewhere. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that. And then the other thing is that when the Bosnian had genocide, you remember the Bosnian genocide? Yeah. Who do you think were killing other people? Yeah, it was neighbors. Yeah, yeah, it was neighbors, people you lived with. So, Dr. Phiri, I'm saying that to you. Yeah, the perpetrators and victims were not just fellow nationals of Bosnia; they were next door neighbors, they were co-workers, they were classmates, they were even godparents of children, and yet they killed them. So I'm just saying that these things happen. Now, I asked Dr. Phiri the relation between what he's saying and what is read, and he's saying that matter is not inert in the sense of the philosophers. It is capable of self-motion, both in the sense of change of relation and in the sense of change of property. And this is what triggered his thinking, which he shared with us. So, thank you, Dr. Phiri, for sharing your thinking. Let's now go to Sister. Let's see, the sister left. Which sister hasn't spoken? I think all sisters have spoken. Sister Pua has a hand up, but I want to hear from others who haven't spoken. Sister Pua, if it's not too long, please come in.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to point out that the points that Dr. Phiri has raised in terms of matter is not inert, it would still apply to the South African situation from henceforth. Because what we are learning is, if matter is not inert, and if matter is capable of changing relations, and if matter can change its characteristics, therefore what we have in South Africa is not permanent. It's people going through a process. And for us as Pan-Africanists, this is what we need to understand, that there is constant change. But in understanding that there is constant change, sometimes the direction in which things are going looks like it's going against what we want. But in the second paragraph, where it says philosophical consciencism has twofold, what we are learning from there is absolute and independent existence of matter. In other words, humanity, individuals or communities within a country, for example, they have the ability of independently existing. And they also have the ability for spontaneous self-motion. In other words, they don't have to be influenced by anything. So what we're learning is things will change, things will happen. It's a learning process for them. It's a learning process for us. And it shouldn't make us feel hopeless, because somehow it could be their baptism of going through it. They will see whether what they thought would happen is going to happen. Some of them are already beginning to say, this is not what we thought would happen. So there's change in characteristics already taking place. So motion all the time. I'll stop there.
All right, thank you. Let's now hear from Brother Horace. Thank you. Brother Horace, is he here? Yes, Brother Horace. Yes, please proceed.
And I think today it's a great day, a great discussion on everything based on matter. On my thinking, I think I Nkrumah did some great research, or maybe he was a good scientist, so as to say. But I feel like something is missing. Because if we are going to assess this situation well, you find that matter can be both inert or not inert based on the conditions. Like for instance, let me use the example of the vehicle. We use the example of a car to mean that a car can move or can resist motion using force. So it can move when you apply force on it, and also it cannot move if that force is not applied, which means it won't be it will be inert, it won't be moving. So the situation changes basing on how the conditions are. Now, contextualizing this to the African society, or rather the human society, let me use the human society. For instance, we find that there is a point where the African man reached to a certain level and said, they started revolutions, they started movements, they reached a certain point, then they started them. But that only happened because the conditions favored the revolutions, the movements. But when you look at the globe right now, there are countries where you can start a movement, which now brings us to the case that everything depends on the condition. And I think that's why at some point you say that the philosophy is not static. So it depends. It depends on what the conditions are offering. Because there's some nations you can start a revolution, maybe because some of them are too authoritarian. No matter how hard you try or how much you try, it may come spontaneous, as we have said, but it will take time. And also for matter to move now in the context of a society, it takes some level of enlightenment, some level of external energy. And that external energy will also come in when the conditions allow. So the thing is, matter can be both inert or cannot be inert. It can be in a superposition of the two, based on the conditions. But on the African context, I think our condition doesn't allow us to be inert because our conditions favors the movement, favors revolution, favors an agitation and enlightenment towards a better future. Now the thing is, the external energy that we have, it's limited. It's the feeling you have when you want to do something, but you've forgotten what you want to do. So you have that energy to do the whatever thing you want to do, but you've forgotten it. Now the energy it goes wasted as you try to recall. You have some deja vu of what you want to do, but you can't do it because you're not remembering what you want to do. So now the whole situation comes to a point of what are the conditions facing the society. That's why I thought you said that the philosophy is static. It will change basing on how the society is at the moment. Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Can I? Yeah, it's okay. Can I remind us that okay, let's distinguish inert and inertness, inertness and inertia. Because if we are not careful, we'll be saying the two are the same. Yeah. As scientific concepts that have implication for philosophy. Yeah. So scientifically, something that is inert, yeah, in terms of chemistry, cannot interact with any other object. Yeah. And we have pushed this and we've come to understand that, yes, there are conditions that helium, for example, can interact. Yeah. Now, those pressures are not pressures under which we can exist as humans. Okay. We don't have a physicist here to go into it. Yeah. But the kind of pressures that are required for helium to interact with sodium, yeah, not even pressures under the sea come close to that. Okay. So there's a difference in scientifically between inertness and inertia. Inertia is to do with the laws of motion as Newton explained it to us. Okay? And the laws of motion apply to our universe. Yeah? So please, let's not confuse inertness with inertia. Okay? For example, we can say that, oh, there is this human being that can take pressure, so much pressure. Yes, theoretically. Yeah. But if you apply a certain pressure to some humans, they will just die, or they will collapse, or they will cease to exist. So let's I'm just saying, let's separate inertness from inertia. Okay? Because remember that we are starting from physics, and then we are saying, well, what are the implications for philosophy? Okay. The time is 8 minutes to 9. Yeah, 8 minutes to 9, or 8 minutes to 8 Ghana time. So I don't think we should continue, although there are many who haven't spoken. Quite a few. One Map Africa hasn't spoken. Mauli hasn't spoken. Richard hasn't spoken. Jenon hasn't spoken. Brother Coco hasn't spoken. Brother Sean hasn't spoken. So, and Brother Welcome hasn't spoken either. But we've run out of time. So I'm afraid we'll have to bring it to a close. I'm happy for us to have another session so we hear from those who haven't said anything, who want to share, so they can also share their thinking. Yeah. Brother Sean has his hand up. Yes, Brother Pigeon.
Yeah, I was requesting, I know based on, of course, the minutes you're having, not in terms of preference, but of course, based on the sacrifice and also the timings of getting Brother Sean, it might be very hard to get him again because of his timings. Brother Sean.
Yeah, Brother Sean. I'm asking him. Yes, I'm asking him
please.
to.
Yeah, please.
Brother Pigeon, you may then proceed from here and then take him and then take the announcements as well.
Thank you. Brother Sean, please go ahead.
Thank you very much, and a wonderful good morning to you all. Actually, I'm in Malaysia. It's 3:50 in the morning. I am very pleased to be here. I took it upon myself to be here because I noticed there was a warning that if we do not attend at least once a month, of course, there might be penalties. And I appreciate that because I do listen to the videos sometimes, but more importantly, the gathering of the revolutionaries, if I may call us that, or the conscientists, if I could use that word. Quickly going back to this philosophical text and how it applies to us as humans, because matter is not limited to Africans. And even though Consciencism is an African philosophical revolutionary text, we as Africans, we understand that we are the mother of the human race, regardless of what we might have suffered from the Arabs and the Caucasians. So be that as it may, matter is us. We are part of matter. Just like Kwame Nkrumah said, that inertness might imply inertia, but inertia does not mean inertness. We are part of matter. We are not exclusively the only matter. Now, for revolution to take place, there must be something we call political agency. And I will put that in respect to self-motion. There's a saying that when a student is ready, the teacher or the teachers will appear. And while it seems that there is no revolution in Africa for us to break away from what our children have put us in. When I say our children, I'm talking about the Europeans, the Arabians, what they have put us into that makes us feel like we are not human enough, because they have to do that for them to feel justified to torture their parents. And as parents, we understand that When our kids misbehave, we do not throw away the baby with the bathwater. So we must learn from our interaction, because we are not inert, we are not helium, and we don't need to force the unknowns, like our sister said. The unknowns are many, but as scientists, we must work with the knowns while we're trying to resolve the unknowns. So the knowns are that revolution is a science, consciencism is a science, based on what Kwame Nkrumah was able to analyze and give to us as a tool for our African revolution. So what do we need to do? Well, most of our people are seemingly inert, and beyond being inert in terms of political agency, our people are also resisting the necessary motion, that self-actualization, that self-agency, that yes, we need to evolve beyond our current state of inertia. And how to do that is what exactly we're doing today, sharing with one another philosophical text, empowerment, so-called, through knowledge. I don't think anything is wrong with the science that we hear from Isaac Newton. Like I said, they are our children, they can make mistakes. What we should do is what Nkrumah has done. Nkrumah looked at what they have done and took their text to reflect and tell us where they might have gone wrong. And that's why he was able to critique the philosophers and say matter is not inert. Matter is very much interactive under the right conditions. And for us to interact even in relation to these other people who are part of us now and who have subjected us to a site of extraction, and we want to elevate beyond that site of extraction and tell them that, hey, we are all the same, even though historically we are older than you. We must not do it in the sense that, just like we see our South African brothers and sisters, they feel the need to take ownership of their land. The mistake I would say they are making is that they are pushing away the people they should work with, telling us that, oh, we are not the same at this moment. Let's take our land back. Because I heard brother from South Africa telling us that they are not enemies to Africans. They want to take their land back from the white first, and then they'll bring in the blacks back. Whatever the excuses are, they might be right. But for us, moving forward as an African entity, as an organization that is pushing for Pan-Africanism, our self-motion is to ensure that our brothers and our sisters who are not practicing their political agency come to the knowledge that we are capable of self-motion, and we're able to change our relation with our environment, and we must take ownership of that agency. And we should start doing the political agency that we have. We should start practicing them so we can change our political reality, so we can effect and affect our social, economic, and political realities, because that's the essence of revolution. We do not like what we have currently, and we have the capacity to change all of that if only we take the right actions. That's my thinking for now. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh, thank you, Brother Sean, and thank you for all members who attended our session today. Sometimes they say that not all attend to speak, and not all those who speak also learn. Sometimes people also enjoy listening as part of their learning. We are actually facing a big, to us, this becoming almost a big number. We were used to some small number, and we appreciate the progress you're making. So we're able to contain the sharing of thoughts in maybe a more proper way and even come back to more people. But as we say, we don't always limit much of the time somebody has to speak. But we will continue. It's now becoming our tendency to balance this. We don't go beyond 2 hours, and we will never go beyond 2 hours, just to be conscious of the time difference. And thank you, Brother Sean, for sacrificing to be here almost 3 a.m. of your time. Mine is almost going midnight. Other people maybe might be at around afternoon and evening. So that's why we are conscious we don't pass 2 hours. So please, those who haven't either got an opportunity, I'll actually have that memory of those who didn't share something. And probably Brother Kwame will start with them in our next class. And maybe it might mean that we might have to start maybe 15 or 20 minutes to finalize on the previous text and then get to a new text, because sometimes many people might not speak in the entire text at once. So thank you very much. We appreciate your time, your resources, and your ability, attention to be here. And we continue growing and learning together. Thursday is becoming now more impressive with our 10 to 15 number. We really thank you for that. And now this coming Saturday, I will be presenting on cooperatives, public ownership, and commons. Basically, my element of focus will be on public cooperatives and public ownership. I'll be looking more of the what you call the Ubuntu, no, the Harambe philosophy. So please have time to check on Harambe philosophy. Just Google it, Harambe, as an avenue of these collectives' ownership of us as a people. And then the next week, Brother Horace has also put forth, based on the knowledge I have, that he'll be representing on the youth education, the future leadership. And I know probably also Sister Portia requested to present on mass movements. Now, anybody, sometimes you can have 2 presentations. So feel free to get in touch with me in advance if you want to share anything. But our presentations are limited to 20 minutes, maximum 30, so that we can have an opportunity for people to discuss and actually share what they think about our conversations. So thank you very much, Brother Kwame, for sharing that. The recordings for last week, I have already uploaded them on our YouTube channel. So far now we are having around 405 previous recordings. That means the recordings of all sessions we've been having for the last 4 years on YouTube, and since we moved to Zoom. So please find time to maybe catch up on our conversation, find time to maybe respond on that. And that's what I want to say for now. We will be meeting on Monday. I'm trying to restructure the Monday group a bit. So there's a separate group of the Pan-African Library that is now part of the Pan-African Reading Club. So all the Monday sessions on the Reading Club will move to that group, and let's respect that. All conversation on open conversation move to our debate group, and all conversation about the unification of Africa moves to our UNA project led by Brother Welcome. The class for our consciousness has been repeated is our philosophical and ideological war room or space for us. So please, let's respect that as well. As I've been said, Brother Son is very clear. If you don't attend our class once in a month, I'll get you out. We are very strict on that. So please find your time and find your sacrifice to be with us. Now, Brother Kwame, I think that's done from my side. Unless you have any other thing to say, please remind me, Brother Kwame.
I've got nothing to add except to say those who we would like to start first, who haven't spoken today, if they can come on time so they can share their thinking with us first, that would be great. Thanks.
Thank you all, comrades. So you are at liberty to leave, but know that we appreciate your presence today, and feel free to even continue this conversation in our consciousness group. Not contestation, but you can have a space for the conversation. For the South Africa case, we'll find time for that, and I know we might have to come back for it, Brother Kwame, in maybe another angle, because we are a philosophical class, so our debate will be philosophical approach and ideological approach. So thank you very much. Brother Kwame, I think we are free to either end our session for today and end the recording. Bye-bye for now, comrades, and thank you.